Designer is a Brooklyn-born New York rapper. He blew up in 2016 with his hit song Panda. After being put on The Life of Pablo, Designer's status and fame took off and he was soon a household name as far as hip-hop was concerned. You would see him with plenty of other celebrities, Migos, French Montana being a few, and he'd be featured on multiple tracks as well as having a few other hit songs after Panda. He was everywhere on social media, and people seemed to really like his outgoing, energetic persona. For a while, it seemed like Designer could only go forward. And even though he was riding the wave of his hit song Panda and had no project out to help cement some foundation in the music game other than New English, it seemed like he might not be a one-hit wonder. This is what it all seemed like, but this was not what would end up happening. Despite releasing various other songs later on, it seemed like it was for nothing. People just stopped paying attention. Designer would begin to fall to the wayside and he'd become almost forgotten. Through a series of tweets, it shown that Designer was having some trouble with his label and that the deal he went into was no longer a beneficial situation for him. It's clear that Designer had issues, and it's in my belief that these issues had a great influence on the downfall of his career, along with the way that he was shoehorned into the music industry and his uncanny sound that was a mirror copy of Future. It's these facts that I believe reveal a lot about the music industry. And it's from these truths about the music industry that artists of all kind can learn from. See, to be an artist of any kind is a serious job. It's something that's very difficult. To be a great one is an even harder and rarer thing. The greatest artists have all gone through years and years of rigorous training, sacrifice, and pain. No great artist became great by luck and good fortune alone. Sure, some artists were put into some spots because they were lucky, but once they got there, it was up to them and their skills to show that they were worthy of staying in that spotlight. Nina Simone had been classically trained in piano for years, and she went under a grueling training regime. She'd go through numerous internal and external battles, such as dealing with an oftentimes abusive husband, and would have multiple mental breakdowns throughout her life. All of this she would channel into her music, and all of this would help make it great. Lovecraft was raised by an insane mother, had his father died very young, and had many other horrific, life-altering events happen to him. He also had access to a vast library when he was young, which the secluded Lovecraft would go through extensively, which helped groom him and shape him as a writer. All of these things he too would channel into his writings. Friedrich Nietzsche had his father die young too, would suffer from depression and other mental illnesses, but he was an astute student and a very curious and passionate boy. All of this he would channel into his philosophy and analyzation of the world, both of which would go on to change the world. My point is that all of these great artists had years to practice their craft, to master it, and then on top of that, they had personal experiences of failures and hardships that helped build character, which they further imbued into their music, which made it even better and original, thus earning them true mastery and greatness. A lot of artists these days are not given that chance, or even encouraged to take that path, and this is one of the reasons that most of them don't last long, which is due to this business model. True, the business side is important, because being an artist alone won't pay the bills, at least not initially. Nietzsche wasn't really discovered till after World War II, and his good name was fixed after his anti-Semitic sister polluted his writings to fit Nazi propaganda. If that hadn't happened, he might have gone unknown. Lovecraft wasn't discovered till decades later, and he's still a widely unknown name in the literary world. And Nina Simone had her husband and a good team that handled the business side, which allowed her music to be discovered by the rest of the world. Great artistry must meet smart business for it to truly prosper and be seen by all. Getting back to Designer, he had the former and not the latter. He was lucky enough to be discovered the way he did, and for what he does, he isn't a bad artist, but the sudden gust of fame that came towards his way didn't allow him time to grow. The person he was a mirror copy of, Future, was in the business for years, before he became famous. What most people don't know is that Future was around since the 90s. He was actually in studios with people like Goody Mob, Outkast, and other Southern legends, but it took him years before he started blowing up with his own style. He had years to innovate and perfect his craft, and add his own twist to it, whereas his copycat didn't. This is something the music industry doesn't always care about though, nor try to foster, at least not anymore. In the past, artists were developed by the label, but nowadays labels tend to gravitate towards artists that are already developed, or more often than not, are having a hot streak and starting to rise. This model of the industry has destroyed many artists, and it's done the same thing to Designer. Designer was still 18 when he blew up. At that age, he most likely had no maturity nor refined skill that could allow him to flourish properly. Sure, it might have not been his intention to be the next Tupac, Kendrick, or Drake, but even so, being thrust into the spotlight and not being given enough time to properly refine yourself certainly isn't going to help you out. He could put out some hit songs, but I think for him to have really properly amassed a good, loyal fan base that was into him, and not just hit songs, would have required more work on his part. If there's anything I think we can learn from Designer being dropped or leaving his label is this: an artist takes time to be properly developed. An artist needs to practice their craft properly, whatever it is. I made a video detailing why SoundCloud rappers tend to have worse careers than more conscious rappers. And in it, I say one of the reasons is because SoundCloud rappers do too much partying and aren't nearly as focused on their craft as the conscious ones are. Designer was being seen everywhere when he first came out, hanging out with various hip-hop celebrities and just being all over the place. I questioned how much he was really working on his craft or how much they really were pushing him or allowing him to work. Most likely, not a lot. That's why when he released New English, it ended up being as bad as it was. Most of the songs shortened and the project as a whole being filled with unfinished ideas. These are the type of signs that shows an artist not really working. And this always comes back to bite them. When an artist doesn't work on themselves, their music suffers. And as a result, their career suffers. And pretty soon, there won't be any career. Designer may still have a chance though. Only history will tell. In the meantime though, what we should learn is that we should always practice to better ourselves. Aim for perfection even if you can't ever attain it, and in the end, you'll reach a level of mastery that will allow you to shine and prosper when the light is finally put on you, and not crumble away the way Designer has. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more videos and analyses just like this. If you see what I'm seeing, or not, let me know in the comment section. And why. Thanks, and peace.